All right. Hello. Welcome back. Marvels of Audio, episode 3. Rules of 3, magic number. Not my favorite number. More of a crazy eights guy. But, hello. We are here recording live at, as always, Remix Audio Bar, 222 North Guadalupe Street. By the time, of course, this episode is being recorded, last week's episode should be posted. Just a few things to go over before we hop into the little subject for today. Is first off, schedule is going to be episodes will be posted on the YouTube every Friday, 9 in the morning. The Spotify, however, is a little more different to encode. So I've decided that I'm going to be posting it every Sunday. So the audio episode for Spotify and whatever other streaming platforms I plan on putting it on. I'm only tinkering with Spotify right now because that's what I'm most familiar with. I'll be every Sunday. You can expect it around the same time, 9 or 10. Of course, this episode, we're recording live, 10 a.m. every week, every Friday. And then a few shout-outs real quick, is another person, Niels Designs, Niels, Nielz Designs. He's also been working with me on a lot of the logos and designs you may see throughout the socials, the podcast, and all that. Incredible logo artist, creator, and all that. Please check him out. Of course, he'll be in the description. The Remix website will be in the description. Our socials, the Spotify and Remix's socials as well, should all be there as well. As well as got a funny question the other day from a friend. It's just like, I can't believe they do podcasts there. I wonder if they do anything else. I must stress this. There's DJs every night from Wednesday to Saturday. From 6 to 10, they open up the kitchen. They have a ramen bowl here. There's the electronic Liminal Wednesdays that they do. Shouted out last week. Deeper side of electronic, super chill and all that. This podcast stuff is very, very new ground for both of us. For the business, for me, for everyone right now. But do please come check out. They're open late. It's a booze feast place. They do coffee all day. They have various drinks and juices as well. It's super interesting and all that. But and the ramen bowl, the little, I always forget the name of it, but the little like rice with the seaweed, the rice balls, not balls, it's turned into a triangle. Sorry, I'm not familiar with the cuisine. But yeah. 6 to 10, come check them out. Wednesday to Saturday. Sometimes you'll catch me here as well, chilling if I'm not bartending and all that. But yeah, other than that, for those people that are always on the go, like I said, the Spotify is finally up. Please go check it out. It was a lot of work to get it up, surprisingly. So like that little Spotify channel is like my baby. But yeah. So, I mentioned last week, I kind of grazed on the topic of, mindset, perspective. I made an analogy about chocolate. Chocolate's good. Everyone loves chocolate. It makes you feel better. But if you eat too much chocolate, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna mess up your teeth. It's gonna make it icky. Gonna make it hurt. Teeth hurty, toothache. Your teeth bones hurt. And I had specifically says, like, even, like, you can look at it as much as you want. It's just like, oh, chocolate makes me happy. Chocolate makes my day better, It's the mindset of it. You have to be realistic about that, If it's hurting you, it's acting as an obstacle getting in your way, you gotta slow down on the chocolate or entirely stop. What does that play into? We'll get a little bit into that. But I wanted to preface with If you ever had a bad day, really bad day, like you just wake up, something's a little off, or it's messing with your head, and you're just really more agitated towards people than you usually are, or you're just coming off cold or brazen to people, whether because something happened or it's just that's just your mood, you know. Uh, we've all had bad days, weeks, months, even years. You know, you wake up and you don't want to get out of the bed. Uh, had a lot of those. We're gonna be talking about that today. Have how I've had bad days and stuff I've heard and listened to. Uh, I want to start. I'm about to go on a long explanation here about an album that I felt like a personal connection to a lot. First listened to it and it just instantly resonated with me. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. What I'm going to talk about first is the history and the production and all that behind it, like the story of creating the album, not the like, oh, they went to this studio, made it here, they cracked this joke that which led to this lyric. But I'm gonna talk about just stuff I've garnered from deep diving into it, a little interpretations, the meanings of some of my favorite songs from it, and then I'm gonna talk about my interpretation when I first listened to the album. So it's What Could Be Better by the Happy Fits. It's I believe, their second album. It was released in 2020. And it has a very interesting start to it because like the first 3 tracks, which is like there's Go Dumb, No Instructions, all that. First 3 songs of the track are really upbeat, quick, like beach vibe melodies and all that, you know? It's like Song of the Summer. But as you get farther down into the track, it slows much more down in pace and all that. And to the point where it gets to the last song where it's just like super like it's kind of like hand holding you. The last song, which is the name of the album, the last track is What Could Be Better, which is really hand holding you through the song, is how I feel like, and such. The creation of the album describes the personal journey that the band went through. I believe they dropped out of college, and like 2020, like this is COVID, so like tons of stuff happening, people transitioning to online classes. Crazy year, crazy time of our lives. But the album goes through that journey, and each song is a little bit of it, of the ups and downs, what helped them through it, what really hurt. And it kind of plays into the whole idea of they kind of lost their support system, friends, families, a lot of people that they thought they could rely on told them this was a bad idea. This was stupid. It's gonna do more harm than good. And so I think the first song I want to bring up is, towards the later half of the track, which is Get a Job, which is something the band heard a lot, basically. It was just like, this is not going to sustain you. This is not going to go anywhere. This won't help you make money, get a house, get food, groceries, all that. You need to get a job. You need to get something realistic. You need to be realistic. It's the whole, like, it's all they heard throughout the making of their first album, dropping out of college, and deciding to go all in on the music industry of becoming a band, making music, and all that, and such. It's honestly it's a little heartbreaking, when I first listened to the album and I found out the whole meaning behind a lot of these songs, which I just found unfathomable. Because I can't imagine, wanting to go out and you finally get put in an opportunity to do something you care, you're passionate about. It's everything you want. And everyone who's like always helped you get there, supported you, as soon as you go for it, it just tells you it's not gonna work. This isn't. You got to be realistic. You know, I'm gonna be saying that word a lot. It's just I can't say anything on it because I'm incredibly lucky with the friends, the community, the family I have to be allowing me to helping me, supporting me, and giving me the opportunity to do this, to pursue writing, podcasting, all that. I'm incredibly grateful. It was really interesting because listening through it the second time, I was kind of like putting myself in the shoes of the singer, essentially, just trying to imagine the whole thing. There are two songs that really stand out to me. There's a whole back and forth of the reminiscing of feeling like you're drifting aimlessly and whatever. That's the whole idea of sailing. It's, the whole dropping out of college. Sorry. I keep saying, my bad. I rewatched the last episode while editing it. I said that a lot. There was a counter. But back to the song Drifting. It explores, being aimless, not knowing where you're going. It's the idea of taking that risk, and it's just so much you don't know where you're going. It's hard to, find place and such. And this song is the exact opposite of Garden, which is the lyrics follow the idea of that need to find ground, to root yourself into something, foundation, a place to call, not home exactly, but this is where I belong, this is where I should be, this is what I should be doing, and all that. But the entire track goes on with that idea the entire time. Like, Hold Me Down is probably the most powerful song of the entire track, in my personal opinion. It's the culmination of the two, of the singer not knowing where he's going, feels like he's losing sight, and his lover is able to help him find where he needs to be, what he needs to be doing, is literally holding him down, keeping him from drifting away and such. And it's the most personal song in the track, as it is literal reference of how it's the singer talking about how if he didn't have his partner at the time, he doesn't know if the band would have been a thing. It was a very important element to the success of the Happy Fits, having, when everything was out the window, gone, their partner was the only person to help them through all that. And then getting to the last song is What Could Be Better, namesake of the album. I said it's very handholdy, as in kind of like a narrative. At the first line, the first chorus follows along Mr. Bartend. It's obviously sitting down, talking to a familiar face, bartend, pretty on the nose. And it just goes on. Do you love me? Are you proud of me? Do you think I'm doing okay? Is this right? And it's just left open. There's no answer from this person ever. And there wasn't much I could find on the song, which was just the name Mr. Bartend was Barton, from one of the bandmates' old high school teachers. That he thought which is a really good teacher, and they changed it to Bartend to I thought it was funny, to make the song a bit more interactable, relatable. It feels like that's not the correct word to use, but I hope you get the idea and such. But the whole album is just, it explores themes of aimlessness, trying to find where you are in life and trying to get rooted in there, and the idea of support, holding on to the people that are still cheering you on and all that. When I first listened to the album, though, I thought it was the clashing of, you know, thinking positively and thinking realistically. Because I don't think the two are mutually exclusive, though they don't line up all the time. What do I mean by that? Like I said, the album starts off super happy, super great, and all that. And granted, first listening through the album, I was giving it a very surface level interpretation, listening to it and all that. And it slows down. But what really got me was I believe the song was "She Wants Me to Be Loved," which is essentially just this guy is in love with his best friend, essentially. And she goes on about just being like, oh, we'll find you someone, we'll get you someone. And he just really struggles with, trying to juggle these feelings and trying to get out, just being like, I don't want to just be your boyfriend of the week. I want to be yours. I want you to be mine and all that. And, that it's a train of thought. It's a message that I've struggled with before and all that. Coming down to the idea of goes into many branches of is it okay to tell her I like her? Is it okay could this ruin our friendship? Is it okay to just hold it in, never bring it up or whatever? It really felt like the culmination of that idea of positivity versus realism and all that. Of just thinking, should I be realistic or should I, try to keep a good mindset of this and all that? I do believe it is important, no matter what, to keep a positive mindset. At the end of the day, if you lose everything, there's one thing you can always have control of. And that is your perspective, that is your mindset, and your outlook on the current situation you're going through. You can, be a grump in the slump or have your mind in the gutter, but you got to pass the butter, If you slope and mope like a dope, I don't know where I'm going with this, you're going to get stuck. You're going to get stuck like a stick in the mud. I think it's always important to, try your best to see the silver linings, keep a good idea, because that's the whole idea with me and my family. Honestly, we always have crazy things happening in our lives. It feels like a cartoon, honestly, sometimes. But if there's anything I tell people is that we're really scrappy, very scrappy. Like, no matter how bad it is, what's going on, we'll get through it. It's gonna work out. And I feel like most of that comes down to, the main driving force is having a positive mindset. And of course, like I said with the chocolate analogy, there are times when it can do the opposite. You got to be realistic. You could say something's good or is going to work out or whatever. You got to be, you got to be able to take the best course still to achieve reality where it's not the positivity just isn't in your head. It's something that's actually happening, I keep saying that. Sorry. But that's definitely the idea I got from that song mainly. That's kind of like what ticked off that idea in my head from listening from all the songs, from Get a Job, Hold Me Down, and all that. I just really like that idea of it, because I thought it was like a theme that's not really explored a lot. The benefits and negatives of positively thinking or being realistic. Because I've talked a lot of lash and bash on positive thinking. What about being realistic? That in itself can be detrimental. Because if you boil it down to the point where you're looking at everything as numbers, probabilities, hypotheticals, and all that, you're gonna live a boring life, If you're always taking that route of just turning everything into like an equation, essentially making everything mathematical, it's going to be boring. If that was the case, if that's how everyone lived their life, this album would have never come to fruition. Through the power of positive thinking, I wholeheartedly believe this album would have never happened. I never would have listened to it. And I would not be sitting here right now talking to you guys through this mic, seeing you on this camera. It's just incredible to me what a simple thought can lead to, you know? Now, of course, this being like a very personal album to the band and all that, of course, I haven't talked about it yet, but it was a long and arduous journey, pilgrimage. But it went through a lot to get there. A lot of ups and downs, bad days where they felt like giving up. Stuff like, you know, Hold Me Down, of course, talks about that. A lot of, you know, on the verge of giving up. And no need to rehash it, but there were times where they felt like giving up, where they felt like it wasn't worth it. It's like, am I gonna amount up to it? Granted, this is like bad day of like stuff's really hard right now, but not a bad day like something bad happened. I want to talk about the former. A bad day where something bad happened. And I've always had different thoughts on this and all that. But a comic character that has influenced my outlook on bad days a lot is the Joker from DC. Now, there are many different iterations of the Joker and all that. The most common one being, you know, all that is, everyone knows the story. Just fall down, fall into the laugh gas, chemical and all that and such. And, I'm losing track right now. Sorry. Basically, most interpretations I see in modern day comics is that he's a madman. He's just insane. He's just destroying lives, ruining lives, and all that just because he's just insane. Just crazy. But I'm sorry, but I don't remember which comic or running series this is from. But there was one interpretation of the Joker. This was just like a one-off comic my friend let me read while I was at a coffee shop. Where it's Batman talks to him and it's just like, why are you doing this? We can get you help. We can, you know, get this whole like, get you to an asylum, get you therapy and all that. You know, you don't have to be insane. There is help. And then he goes on the record to say, I'm not insane. I'm not crazy. I am as capable of thinking as the rest of everyone else. And it then goes into the flashback of him falling into the chemical vat and all that, but it goes a bit further back. It shows that and then goes even deeper after that, where it just shows him just having a really bad day, like getting mugged, losing loved ones and all that. And he's just having a really bad day. And just falling into that vat was the straw that broke the camel's back, essentially. And it was just because it was that one bad day. There's no substances or influences or anything. He just had a really bad day, and that made him a bad person. It's just like, you know, and then it goes on to be like, everyone should have a bad day. If I've had a bad day and no one was there to help me because everyone was awful, everyone who's awful needs to experience what I've experienced now and all that. Which is it's just my absolutely favorite interpretation of Joker. Because, you know, granted, it is extremely glorified of, you know, getting mugged, losing a loved one, and then falling into a vat of chemical substances that you don't even know what's in them. So there's only so far a mindset could take you, but that's an extreme. I'm only talking in an extreme right now. If you have a bad thing happen to you, it really is up to how you take it, how you move forward from it. Earlier this year, I was in a car crash. Uh, was just overworking myself. I ended up developing some kind of insomnia. I just couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep for the life of me. But I was driving home one day and fell asleep behind the wheel. Wake up, boom, hit a tree. And this was at a really bad time because I was going through it was at the time a bunch of bad stuff was already happening. Starting to save up money finally to, you know, move to a place where I've been wanting to for a long time. That's been put on hold. That car was everything to me as a means of getting to my job, getting to places to hang out, and getting out of here. I was absolutely devastated that night. It was virtually no injuries other than like a little bit of a bruised ankle and a lot of knots. But literally called my boss. I was like, hey, I'm not going to be able to come into work, you know, tomorrow, crash my car. And then 2 days later, I'm back to bartending and all that, telling everyone just like, oh, crashed my car. Whoopsies. And everyone's like, oh my God, are you okay? Why are you joking about it? And I'm just like, yeah, I'm okay. But like, why? Tons of people was asking us like, are you okay? You're joking about it. You know, you're here at work. How you going to get home and all that? It's just like, car's a car. I lived. That's all that matters. That was my perspective on it. I easily could have been how for the rest of that week or the month with how I felt that night at the initial night of the crash, just being like, it's over. I can't come back from this. It's over for me. But I didn't keep that. I didn't. Yeah. It still sucked after the car crash. There was still a lot of bad stuff happening and all that. But what was really important was I just knew it would work out. Like, I was being realistic that, like, it's going to be harder from here on out. I'm going to have to save more money, be more careful, and, you know, focus more on my health moving forward and all that. But what also just helped me wasn't just the mindset, but, you know, like I said earlier, having a support system and all that. I am incredibly grateful to friends and family that helped me through that entire ordeal and all that. There's one song that comes to mind whenever I talk about this topic. Joker, by the way, not the car crash. It's a song by AJR and all from two songs actually. One, both of them are from Neo Theater. I believe. Sorry if I'm wrong on this. I believe it came out in 2019. Neo Theater. But it's one song, very surface level stuff. It's called 100 Bad Days, and it's from that song alone. Sorry, a little gassy. It's from that song alone where I got the whole little catchphrase of, don't let one bad day ruin 100 good days. No matter the severity of it and all that, it's just one bad day among 100 you've probably had in the year. I'll explain a little bit more on what I mean by that. But the song is very simple. It follows the idea of this guy's has really down on his luck. Gets into a lot of incidents, does a lot of dumb stuff and all that. It's a bad day. It's starts off with like, remember that time we got drunk and I got 2 broke thumbs? And the following lyrics are just the singer looking back on that. I was like, man, that was so dumb. That was so funny. And it's it's ultimately a song of perspective. They take one bad day or an incident that they have and they turn it into a story. 100 bad days equals 100 good stories. 100 good stories makes me interesting at parties. is the running lyric, the main focus of the song. And I love it. There's not much to talk about on it, but I love that idea where it's just like taking something that's bad that's happened to you, small or large, and just turning it completely around, making it something good for you, something to learn, to grow from, and through that your life is more interesting. Your life is more interesting, with the idea of you took a risk, it became something bad happened, you got a good story out of it. Another song that reminds me a lot, with the album Joker and all that, is, well, it's a conversation. I wholeheartedly believe that you're not a person like cognitive thinking until you've had this conversation, which is Karma, from Neo Theater and all that. The song follows the lines of this person sitting down for therapy and all that, talking to a therapist, and it just goes over just being like, I've done so much good into this world. I've done so much good for the people around me. It's not happening back to me. Where is the karma? And straight up, everyone's had that conversation. Everyone has had that conversation. Middle school, high school, college, somewhere in your life, you've had that. And it's, again, falling on the idea of you got to be realistic. You're not doing good because you're expecting something out of it. You're not doing good because you're going to get it back. It's going to come back like a boomerang. That's not how karma works, It's not a give and receive. In my personal opinion, you don't need a reason to be nice, be good. I'm not going to tell you it's free to be nice or whatever. I just think it's instinct, I love the idea of the song because the track plays along with the idea of the whole idea that it's a therapy session of within the instrumentals parts of it, like when he's finishing a lyric or chorus and all that, there's like a little muffle like bump bump bump, like the Peanuts, like when the adults talk in the Peanuts, as opposed to mimic the therapist talking back to him essentially. And eventually, when you get to the end of the song, it goes, time's up, session's over, and he doesn't want to go. He didn't get his answer, didn't figure it out, It's just like, I want to figure all this out. I'm still having bad thoughts. I'm still having bad things happen to me and all that. And it's the whole idea of the song is supposed to be a one-sided conversation. You're only hearing what the patient's saying. There's a lyric where it says, you've been doing better, but I don't think I'm doing better. Something along those lines, not word for word. Which is, and this is right after that little muffle I told you about, which is exactly what the therapist said, but him reciting it back. It's just the whole idea of, denial. And what I said about the negatives of thinking too realistically about probabilities, turning everything into numbers, because when you do that, if you take 2 plus 2, you're going to get 4. If you do 2 good deeds, it's not means you're going to get 2 good deeds done back for you. That's not how it works, It plays on the same idea of like weighing optimism versus realism, essentially. And I think that's very important to, acknowledge. Just like on the subject of karma and all that, Neo Theater and everything. But how does that all tie in together? I've kind of already given a very long, ununiformed answer to that. But it's like I've said this several times throughout the show. It's mindset. It's perspective. It's really important to, weigh your options, but at the same time, same problem I had with last week's episode. It's like I spent all week trying to figure out how to word this. I can't. You just gotta stay positive, but don't let that get too much. Don't eat too much chocolate. Don't let it hurt. Don't let it give you cavities. But at the same time, don't be boring. Don't eat nothing but saltines. Don't eat the same thing every morning. Have a little chocolate. It's really nice. We talked a lot about the album for the first half. Joker, AJR. One thing I didn't get to go over was the idea of support systems. Though that wasn't the main focus, that was the foundation for a lot of this stuff. I want to leave off with a recommendation. With I think it's one of my favorite comics. A very short series. It's a little over 100 chapters. It's 2 seasons. You could probably read it in a few weeks, honestly. It's called The Four of Them. The literal number 4, not Four. The Four of Them. And it follows these high schoolers, or maybe I think they're middle schoolers. They're kids. They're kids. But it follows these 4 kids going through a lot of changes of growing up and all that. Realizing what they want to do, or some things have to change. A lot of exploration of sexuality, the future, the past, the present, and all that and such. And it garners on the idea of, one of the characters literally goes over. In the English translation I read, it's not originally an English series. I should mention that. In the English translation I read, word for word, it's what could be better. I had a little chuckle with that. I was like, oh, that's the album. But through this exploration and growth, their personal journeys, they feel incredibly scared to reach out to a lot of their loved ones. And because of that, they feel like they lack a support system because, of their mindset. They think the worst possible thing. They think that's the reality, that if they come out with their problems, it's going to get worse. It's not the case at all. And so the comic plays with, they only have each other to rely on to figure things out. And it's pretty clever how it plays with that, because it's also going into they're helping each other out, but they're also making it kind of worse sometimes for each other, because they're kids. They don't know what they're doing. This is the first time they're experiencing these things. They're afraid to ask their family, older siblings, parents, grandparents, all for help on this. But there'll be a link to the webtoon in the description, or the site if there is one. I read it through webtoon. That's how I found it. But some closing thoughts now before I head out. Next episode, it's going to be one of 2 things, like I already told you last week. We're either going to talk about one of my favorite running series of all times, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, and it's going to be garnering over the idea of inspiration and legacy, in a sense. Don't count on that. It'll definitely be about inspiration. Or we'll be going over this one of my personal favorite bands called Kick the Robot. And they're a blues rock band that both of their albums just goes over what I could best describe as things you need to hear in your 20s. And me almost being in my mid-20s, very incredible band I found. But that'll be one of the 2 things we go over and all that. And, of course, like I said at the beginning of the episode, check out the socials. Leave a comment, subscribe, share it with your friends. Every little bit helps not only me, helps the business, for people to come in. Please, come in for the late nights. It's not just a coffee shop. There's live DJ events where I'm sitting right now. There are live DJs that happen here on the nights that they're open. 6 to 10, they have the ramen bowls. full kitchen for you to have a cool drink, listen to some music, and have really good meal. You know, it's a very chill place. It's from Wednesday to Saturday. In case you have missed it, North Guadalupe Street, 222. We're right next to the bakery. Come check it out. And before I leave off on that, like I was saying earlier, just, you know, be really careful of how you process your thoughts and all that. Because sometimes if we're trying to be overly realistic or overly optimist, we can get blinded of what we're trying to see, what we're trying to figure out, and all that. It's important to always know it's important to figure out what could be better, but always know it will get better. So, thank you for listening or watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.